And now to the stories. We begin with the terrorism blacklisting of two prominent political parties in Nigeria. A Canadian federal court has designated the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, and the All Progressives Congress, the APC, as terrorist organizations. Now, the ruling delivered on the 17th of June 2025 came as the court denied asylum to Douglas Igareva, a former member of both parties, citing their alleged involvement in political violence and anti-democratic actions in Nigeria. The PDP dismissed the ruling as biased and unsupported by evidence. The APC also rejected it, saying the court has no authority whatsoever over Nigerian political institutions. The controversial judgment has sparked diplomatic concerns, with questions raised over its potential international impact. Now, Joshua Mrai joins us from the streets of Abuja to get reactions, and I'm also joined by Dr. Sam Amadi, public affairs analyst, who will share his thoughts on the development. Thank you, Joshua Mrai. Let me start with you. What is the reaction to this? It's quite an interesting turn of event. What are the people saying?
Well, Nigerians are reacting with shock over the recent development from the Canada court declaring that two major parties, the PDP and the APC, designating them as terrorist organizations. Well, you won't hear from me only. You'll be hearing from some of our respondents on the street who have appealed to say concerning the recent developments. Come over, sir. Come over, sir. Come over, sir. Well, I have a gentleman here who has his view particularly on this issue. Tell us the name, sir.
My name is Femi Ajimundan, Executive Director of Open Right Group.
Okay, what do you think about the current designation of PDP and APC as terrorist group by the Canadian court? What are your views?
No, I'm not surprised if they say PDP and APC are terrorist group, because right from time where they are doing things in Nigeria, rigging of an election is a terrorist act, manipulating the judiciary. We are in this country when in number 4 in an election. He was number 4. He eventually ended up as the governor of the state today. So it's a part of terrorism. So I'm not surprised with the decisions of the Canadian court, because both PDP and APC they are just recamping and decamping to each party, and they are the one that are manipulating the system. So they are part of terrorism. They are the one that are in front of all those things. So that is my own thinking about it.
Well, this young man is not the only gentleman here who wants to give his views on the issue. We have another gentleman here who wishes to talk, but currently he's declining. Over to you, Blessings.
Well, giving us the reactions of the people, I'll now go to Dr. Amadi. Dr. Amadi, what is your initial reaction to the Canadian Federal Court's ruling that declared Nigeria's PDP and APC, two of the strongest political parties that we have in the country, as terrorist organizations?
Well, thank you for having me. I think first it was like a surprise. I mean, well, I didn't expect that coming. Surprised that what would have been the subject matter of litigation that would have triggered a ruling from a court or observation from a court. This is quite unusual in judicial proceedings. And later, well, I normalize it. And when you get to perhaps get more detail about it, you now see that maybe it's one of those occasions where international courts interpret their own laws and fit their laws, fit the facts that are not perhaps, domestic facts, international facts to the law. And so the court maybe interpretively did not go wrong too much, because they said that these parties have been involved in democratic violations of democratic rights, electoral violence, and acts of violence against citizens. And of course, in this country, we've had elections that are very violent. And the bad thing about these elections is that there is always impunity. So if after election there's violence and the state intervenes, and the Attorney General of the Federation prosecutes those who are involved in violence, then those actions will not be seen as action of formal nature, official act of either the party or the state. So that court simply now says, look, yeah, we see it as perhaps a policy of these political parties to be violent, and there have been actual acts of violence and terror against citizens in electoral systems and other undermining democracy and people's rights. So they concluded, which is arguable, that they are terrorist organizations, and therefore, since the applicant himself has part of his claim to getting asylum is that he was a member of these two parties. He has been once PDP and now APC. And this guy might not be a member or maybe a very low-level person, but having claimed that the judge concluded that, look, these parties are terrorist organizations and therefore under the Canadian law, a member of terrorist organization cannot be granted, can be denied asylum because his membership suggests he kind of approves the official act of the party.
All right.
We know that these parties are not terrorist groups in the sense we understand terror groups.
Okay.
But we can see that they have been complicit in some acts that could, be interpreted that way.
All right, Dr. Mahdi, thank you so much for your thoughts on this matter. We'll go back now to Joshua Murai, who has some more persons who want to give us their feedback regarding the labeling. Joshua, over to you.
Well, a gentleman here is currently here who wants to give his own opinion concerning the issue. Well, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
A federal court of Canada just designated PDP and APC as terrorist organizations because of the fact that they accused them of election violence, subversion of democracy, as well as bloodletting during elections. What do you think?
That is a lie.
Why do you say so?
Because no one authorized, every country has their way they play their politics. No matter what they said, Nigeria is moving forward, and those political parties has done all they can to see that we have left where we are and where we are going. It might not be too fast, but we are heading somewhere. Who authorized it? There's no terrorism there. Are we ever interfering in what they are doing? So I don't accept any external suggestion over Nigeria. We are old enough to decide, and we have the power to decide what we want that will best for our people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You can go. Mixed reactions from the street, particularly on this issue. While some seem to conform with this particular ruling of the Federal Canada Court, some are against it, saying that this is a wrong move by the Federal Canada Court, designating two major political players, that is the APC and the PDP, as terrorist organization. Blessings.
Thank you, Joshua Murai. Let me come back to Dr. Mahdi regarding what the last person there spoke about. It basically just called it intrusion, and, one can understand his point because that kind of blacklists Nigeria in a way. So, Dr. Mahdi, what is your take on what the gentleman had said?
I think it has some truth. I mean, look, this is dangerous for the country. I mean, even though it has no direct impact, they're not applauding Nigeria or taking action, but a legal document that identifies the two leading parties in Nigeria as terrorist organizations can become a basis, a material fact for further proceedings against persons who headed those parties. So it's dangerous. I think perhaps the Nigerian government should care about vacating, secularizing that decision. But again, this is within their power. I mean, a judge faced with the matter, the administrative tribunal for immigration, can interpret the law and the facts. And so he came to the conclusion that, look, these organizations are terrorist organizations. For us as a sovereign country, we will object to that. That does not properly characterize. We know that these parties and the evidence of international observers, and that's a danger. You see, when Nigeria acts very recklessly and lawlessly, they forget that these actions have today's globalized world. Narratives are being shaped. These materials are in public domain. The things that go on Twitter, everywhere, X, everywhere, they are on public domain. So when the elections are being categorized as bloodletting, as warfare, as unbridled violence, it's dangerous for citizens, it's for the country. I think it's very, very bad, and I think Nigeria should see it as something that calls for attention and quickly go and use such a right proceeding to delete that proceeding, because this is a federal court in Canada, a respected country in the liberal world. And it means that it's material, it builds up against Nigerian reputation, it provides evidence for further proceedings, actions against Nigerian state actors and leaders of these two parties. Many of these people are in government, those are members. So it's possible, for example, to file action against the Nigerian International Court for gross violation of human rights, for such things as torture and so on and so forth, and plead in evidence the fact that a well-regarded court had ruled that Nigeria, these parties are terrorists, and therefore it provides evidence to indict and prosecute those high officers. So Nigeria has to be serious and see this as in two ways,
All right, public affairs analyst, thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Sam Amadi, for sharing your thoughts with us on the news. Now, the Nigeria Labour Congress has threatened a nationwide strike if the federal government fails to return billions of naira allegedly taken from workers' insurance contributions. The NLC claims that 40% of funds from the Nigeria Social Insurance Trust Fund, financed by payroll deductions from millions of workers, were diverted into the National Treasury. Now, the National Pension Commission, however, insists the contributory pension scheme remains secure and growing, rejecting claims of missing funds. The NLC also demands the government appoint a governing board for the commission within 1 week, warning that the current leadership vacuum risks mismanagement and political interference in pension funds. It's still the 12 report. Now, as jailbreaks in Nigeria are almost seeming like a recurring problem stemming from a combination of factors like overcrowded prisons, inadequate security infrastructure, corruption, and delays in the judicial process, there are calls emerging from Nigerians to address this issue. Although they say it may require a multifaceted approach, focusing more on concerted efforts towards prison reform, improved security measures, and a more efficient justice system. Well, News Central's Aishat Saliu has been sampling the opinions of people on the street, and she now tells us more. Aisha Saliu, thanks for joining us. What are the concerns of the people regarding the recurring jailbreaks? I know that I would be scared if I were in that area.
Blessings, thank you so much. Well, just like you have stated, there are about two concerns. I would just put it that way. It's more of disappointment and also compounded fears. Disappointment in the fact that, you know, at this present time and age in our country today, we still have issues of jailbreaks. And this is even more alarming with the fact that there was a recent, earlier in the year, the Nigeria Correctional Service saw a change in leadership where with the decoration of Sylvester Ndidi Nwakuche as the substantive Comptroller General of the NCOS, and, you know, by the Minister of Interior. And then Nigerians expected that some of these issues would be laid to rest. But then they're still seeing these issues and they are more disappointed. And the recent jailbreak happened, you know, within the week, where we even have the independent investigative panel that were sitting for their third hearing on alleged misconduct by the officers of the Nigeria Correctional Services. And for fear, people, residents in Abuja are expressing fear. They are saying that, you know, with these people, they may be high-profile criminals that are now living amongst us. They're scared. You know, what's their fate regarding security? These people are now mixing among other people in the state capital and even this particular state where it happened. But then they are saying it should be more of the Nigeria Correctional Service looking at the causes of these issues, you know, before we can have jailbreaks. There are causes, and part of the causes would be overcrowding of these correctional facilities. You would agree with me that there are more and more thousands of people that are in these different correctional facilities, and where there are complaints that there is overcrowdedness, and also there is also the issue of lengthy pre-trial detentions. Most of these inmates are just gathered in there, and then, you know, they're not brought out for their trials, and this also compounds the issue of frustration, and then they may be, you know, nurturing the thoughts of jailbreaks. And also there's also issues of corruption within the system, where some people are alleging collusion within officers of the Nigeria Correctional Service. But then people are saying that when these issues, the causes of this jailbreaks have been addressed, then there will be hope that maybe somehow these issues will be laid to rest.
All right, Aisha, thank you for the update on the jailbreaks in this area that have now become a pandemic for the people. Now, more on electoral matters. A political group under the auspices of Bring Back Our Goodluck has called on Nigeria's former President Goodluck Jonathan to contest the 2027 presidential election, citing the need for experienced leadership to rescue the country from its current socio-economic and security challenges. The call was made during the group's Northeast Conference held in Borno State. Right now, Umaru Kirawa joins me live to discuss this further. Umaru Kirawa, it's an interesting one where we see that people are advocating for the former President Goodluck Jonathan to return. Is there any reason to this?
The reason they have given as a group, one is the
statesmanship of Goodluck Jonathan when he lost re-election in 2016 and handed over peacefully to President Muhammadu Buhari of blessed memory. And particularly with regard to the statement he made that his political ambition is not worth the blood of any Nigerian. But some people are saying that it should go beyond the statement because of the fact that there's the level of insecurity, the Bring Back Our Goodluck campaign, which started as a plan immediately after the abduction of Chibok school girls, and so many incidences of insecurity and so many other issues of corruption and so on and so forth. But the group believes that Goodluck Jonathan knows where the shoe pinches, and they believe that if given the chance, Goodluck will rescue the Nigeria. So to think that's what they are saying. They have cited so many examples. For instance, the then president of the United States of America, President Barack Obama, gave an option for the then President Goodluck Jonathan, with regard to him coming up with and the then president refused that and came up with what Nigerians see as abolishing the whole idea. And,
okay.
They are saying that the present administration, yes.
All right, Umar, I'm actually curious to know whether or not there are other factions advocating for other political leaders, or is it just this particular group? Is it a one-off situation?
The journey to 2027 is far, but to some it's not far. However, for former President Goodluck Jonathan, the call is just starting. They said they will be going for a 1 million march to the former president. It's the only movement that we have seen so far, and we hope to see many because the political environment in Nigeria is saturated now.
All right, Modukra, thank you for the update. Still talking politics. Campaign season for Nigeria's 2027 general elections is still well over a year away. But in parts of Abuja and neighboring Nasarawa State, campaign-style billboards, flyers, and posters are already visible. As some of the displays feature prominent politicians, subtle slogans, and implied endorsements, prompting observers to interpret them as unofficial kickoff to campaigns. News Central's Sagir Ibrahim brings details in this special report.
It's almost 2 years to Nigeria's 2027 general elections, and the Independent National Electoral Commission is yet to release an official timetable. But across cities like Abuja and Nasarawa, campaign-style billboards like this one are on display, raising questions about whether this is within the law or it's just another case of politics running ahead of the rules.
The bold portraits of political heavyweights are hard to miss. But under Section 94 Sub 1 of the Electoral Act, campaigns must not begin earlier than 150 days before Election Day. Election monitoring groups and legal experts say the premature display of such materials undermines the law.
What you see happening is within the electoral sector, you can call it shadow campaigning. It's just the Nigerian factor of impunity. When you're in office, you have rules and regulations, and you think that you're above those laws.
When you watch news and all the conversation is about the cracks in the polity, and particularly in political party, if the ruling party don't find a counter narrative, what happens is indirectly you're making the opposition popular.
The experts say this has caused an unnecessary distraction from governance.
Somehow, you see that governance has come to a semi-standstill because people are looking at 2027. That is still a little bit far off.
After campaign, after elections, everyone is supposed to leave politics and say, either ruling party, opposition, it's now about service to the people.
A good politician thinks about the next generation, whereas a bad politician thinks about the next election.
While the Electoral Act specifies the guidelines for political activities, Not much is said about sanctions for defaulters.
The law also is silent about what should happen to people who carry their campaigns, outside the period. The law only talks about issues around bullying, violence.
If you look at some of the national commissioners and some of the state rec, they have political affiliation. Ideally, this is an institution that must be independent in the sense of independence.
We are the public interest litigator. Nobody will sue. Sue for what? Which court? Nigerian court? To sue for what? Who will give you a date, Seth? The matter will be there until 2023, 2027 election will come and go.
They, however, made recommendations to strengthen the nation's electoral rules.
The National Assembly should fast-track, the passage of the bill for the establishment of the Electoral Offences Commission, so that things like this can be handled by that commission with clear mandates on penalties and things that can happen.
INEC needs to rally around stakeholders and maybe even work with civil society to ensure that we're able to better educate and inform not only the electorate, but the political elites.
The law said that you should fine. The law said that you should punish. The law said that you should sanction. Yes, use them as example. Everybody will sit up.
Meanwhile, residents in the Federal Capital Territory expressed mixed reactions on the matter.
We've seen banners all over, if you go, most especially along Kubwa Express axis, along Lugbe Airport axis. You see banners there. And to my surprise, I felt it's too early.
INEC has not informed the public that it's time for campaign. So why the campaigning? What they are doing is purely illegal.
Why? Why is he going for? What has he done to go for campaign, to go and start campaigning again? To me, to my own view, I have not seen what he has done.
If Tinubu say, okay, I'm waiting for election to reach for a campaign, the other party they are already moving forward and trying to steal the people's votes and people's love.
Whether these early displays are a breach of the Electoral Act or just another creative political branding will ultimately be for INEC to decide. But with the clock to 2027 still ticking slowly, the growing presence of such visuals is already shaping the mood long before campaign whistle is blown, with many asking where governance lies for the people. In Abuja for News Central, Sagir Ibrahim.
As News Central, Sagir Ibrahim won early campaigns in Nigeria towards the 2027 elections. Meanwhile, 4 out of the 27 local government areas of Borno State are still not secure for the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to conduct the 2025-2026 continuous voter registration. Borno State resident Electoral Commissioner Abubakar Maji disclosed this to newsmen in Maiduguri as part of the preparations for the commencement of the exercise scheduled for Monday. News Central's Moru Kirawa reports that the electoral umpire, INEC, has relocated continuous voter registration for Abadam to Baga Road opposite Yerowa Peace and Guzamala to Fire Service Department 1000 Housing Estate.
For security and factors relating to safety, 4 INEC local government offices will conduct the physical in-person registration at locations in Maiduguri metropolis rather than the local government headquarters in the state. These affected areas are Abadam, Guzamala, Kalabalge, and Marte local government areas. From 18th of August 2025 to 10th December 2025, we'll start on the 18th with the pre-online registration or the online pre-registration. Then from 15th of December to from 5th of January to 17th of April 2026, we'll have the second phase. The third phase is from 4th of May to 17th of August 2026. At each stage of those 3 phases, there is going to be a display of the voters' register as updated at each stage.
Now, youths play a vital role in addressing climate change, hence the need to continually educate the young people through climate action, community engagement, and policies for environmental sustainability. Now, in Nigeria, the impact of climate change is felt in different parts of the state, particularly in Lagos, where residents have to deal with flash floods, among other issues. News Central's Omolola Ololade joins us on the news as she explores ways that young people are addressing climate change problems. Omolola Ololade, I will just start by asking, from what you have gathered so far, how do you think that the young people can begin to take action towards climate change? I'm going to repeat my question. I'm hoping that you can hear me. I'm just basically...
Blessings. Yeah, we're presently at, an island here in Lagos where young people, particularly students from, junior secondary school and senior secondary school, and even undergraduates from universities have been brought together to learn about, climate actions and several environmental practices. And you'll agree with me that in Nigeria, we've been battling just some climate change issues, even here in Lagos. And then, recently we've seen the impact of climate change felt in different parts of Lagos, starting with flooding, waste management, pollution, but most importantly, flooding. And then here we have some students, who've come together to learn about the importance of, the importance of contributing towards climate change, basically. And one of the things they've talked about is about the importance of planting trees, reducing waste management, learning how to do certain things just to, contribute their own quota to the climate change. And one of the things, that has been profound is the fact that beyond people coming together, beyond different relevant stakeholders coming together to, organize these young people to learn about the impact of climate change. It's also important that even schools are beginning to put that in their curriculum. But, Blessings, I would invite one of the students who have partaken in one long week boot camp about the importance of, environmental practices to talk more about, all this environmental practices. His name is Ridwan. Ridwan, can you tell us, what you have learned, like the importance of taking climate actions, especially learning about environmental practices to help mitigate the impact of climate change?
All right. Thank you very much. Good morning, guys. Importance of environmental practices in the states or in the country is very, 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 very key. So one of them being tree planting. Those are one of the practices of the environmental sustainability program. Tree planting helps to reduce the amount of carbon in the atmosphere by giving us oxygen to purify the air qualities. And as we all know that one of the problems...
Right, we'll come back to Omolola to give us more updates on that. Now, President Bola Tinubu departed Abuja on Friday, August 15, which is today, for a two-nation official trip to Japan and Brazil. The president will stop over in Dubai, United Arab Emirates, before arriving in Japan to attend the 9th Tokyo International Conference on African Development in Yokohama for August 20 to 22. TICAD, co-hosted by Japan, the United Nations UNDP, the African Union Commission, and the World Bank, is a triennial event promoting African development dialogue. Now, at this conference, President Tinubu will participate in plenary sessions, hold bilateral meetings, and engage with Japanese business leaders investing in Nigeria. Now, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has dismissed claims that the Olusegun Obasanjo Presidential Library in Abeokuta, Ogun State, was the focus of its recent sting operation. The OOPL management had criticized the late-night raid and demanded 3.5 billion naira compensation, alleging a targeted attack on the former president. The EFCC clarified that its operation took place at a hotel within the OOPL precincts, following intelligence that 93 suspected internet fraudsters were holding a pool party to celebrate alleged illicit activities. The gathering was reportedly moved to the location to avoid detection. According to the commission, 23 suspects will be arraigned in Lagos today, with others to follow after being linked to offenses including impersonation and identity theft. Now to business, let's take a look at our economy. The rising cost of living remains a pressing concern as Nigeria's consumer price index, the CPI, climbed to 123.40 points in June 2025, up from 121.40 in May, according to the latest inflation data from the National Bureau of Statistics. This consistent upward trend underscores the financial strain on households, with year-on-year inflation holding steady at 22.22%. From staple foods to transport fares, prices continue to edge higher, offering a nuanced snapshot of the country's economic landscape. Now, as the Bureau gears up to release fresh figures today, analysts anticipate a further easing in the pace of price increases. News Central's business correspondent Chairman Debeng takes to the markets, speaking with traders and consumers to gauge whether signs of relief are beginning to actually emerge. Now, Chairman, if you can hear me, you have been on ground speaking with traders so far. What would you say is the possibility of price drop reflecting?
All right, so speaking to traders as well as consumers so far, you actually see that a lot of people are currently worried about Nigeria's inflation rate and the prices of goods and services. When you speak to them, you realize that there are certain key goods that have experienced some price drop, things like pepper, rodo, tomatoes, but this is largely attributed to the harvest season, while non-perishables right now are pretty much staying the same, as well as products like yam and onions as well. But joining me here, I have the chairman of the onion sellers, Mr. Abdullahi. Please, sir, could you speak to us? Can you give us a little explanation on what is going on in the market right now?
First of all, I'm not the chairman of Onions. I'm a SA for the chairman.
Okay, my apologies.
Yeah, I'm a SA. My name is Abdullah Swaddin Shaibu. I came from Kano State. So I'm a seller here and I'm a representative.
All right, so can you tell us what is going on as far as prices are concerned in the market?
The market of onions. And we have different of onions here. We have new one and we have old one. Even the price is a different price. And the old onions, they has a higher price. The new onions, they has a lower price. And we have like more than 10 types of the onions. We have Sokoto, we have Zaria, we have Kano, we have Katsina, we have Bodinga, we have Gada. So more than 10 types of onions.
Has there been any price drop or increase so far?
No. Onion, he doesn't have actual price, but sometimes it's a stable price, but sometimes it's just like season. It's season. This current now, we are a season of new markets. Like this now, this is the old market. This is the old market.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much, sir. On onions, at least there we have some information on that.
All right, Chairman Debeng, thank you for the updates. Now, still on the economy, experts are calling for more effort to sustain Nigeria's growth and boost its industrial base. The call came at a one-day sensation workshop on the rebased gross domestic product and consumer price index, organized by the Center for the Study of the Economies of Africa in collaboration with the National Bureau of Statistics. Our correspondent Joshua Marai has the details in this report. We'll get to the report shortly, but coming up on the news, contaminated drug fentanyl kills over 100 in Argentine hospital. We have the details of this after the break. Stay with us. Still live with us on the 12th report. Let's take a look at foreign stories now. Malian authorities have arrested a French national suspected of working for French intelligence amid claims that foreign states are attempting to destabilize the country. The ruling junta in power since the coup in 2020 and 2021 also detained over 50 soldiers accused of plotting to overthrow the government. Among those arrested are 2 generals, including former Governor Abbas Dembele. The arrests were mainly within the National Guard, closely linked to Defense Minister Sadio Kamara, though he remains uninvestigated. Meanwhile, former Prime Minister Shogio Maiga and colleagues face separate probes over alleged public fund misappropriation. Now let's turn our attention to Libya, where the country is gearing up for a rare round of municipal elections this Saturday, which may see as a big test for democracy in a country still grappling with deep divisions and instability. However, key eastern cities like Benghazi, Sirte, and Tobruk have refused to take part, highlighting the ongoing rift between rival governments. The UN mission in Libya says these elections are vital for keeping democracy alive, but cautions that recent attacks on election officers and security concerns could disrupt the process. Since the fall of Muammar Gaddafi in 2011, Libya has been split between the UN-backed government in Tripoli, led by Prime Minister Abdulhamid Dbeibah, and an eastern rival backed by military leader Khalifa Haftar. Meanwhile, the High National Elections Commission is ready, with preparations complete in 51 municipalities, calling on security forces to help make sure everything runs smoothly. And now, Sudan's Army Chief General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan has declared there will be no compromise with the paramilitary forces after more than 2 years of brutal conflict. Speaking on the 100th anniversary of Sudan's armed forces, he reaffirmed his commitment to defeating the rebellion at any cost, emphasizing the fact as one for national dignity. This vow comes shortly after a confidential meeting with the U.S. Africa envoy, as international efforts for peace remain stalled. Sudan's ongoing war has resulted in tens of thousands of deaths, displaced 13 million people, and triggered one of the world's worst humanitarian crises, marked by severe hunger and displacement.
ونجدد هنا عزمنا أننا ماضون في معركة الكرامة، ماضون في دحر هذا التمرد، ماضون في عدم المهادنة أو المصالحة مهما كانت التكلفة.
Let's now take a detour to Southern Africa, where South Africa is hosting its first national convention at UNICEF's main campus in Pretoria, marking the start of the national dialogue process. The convention coordinating committee says it's committed to delivering a successful event, the first major public engagement of the dialogue. Over the next 2 days, participants will outline and agree on the key themes that will guide the national dialogue moving forward.
Yes, good afternoon. Reporting live from the University of South Africa, where today marks the beginning of South Africa's first public engagement, of the national dialogue. Over the next 2 days, this convention aims to shape the future of South Africa by reflecting on 30 years of democracy, addressing social ills, and fostering a path towards prosperity. This initiative comes at a critical time for South Africa, which is grappling with high crime rate, social inequality, and allegations of corruption among politicians and top officials. So many see this dialogue as an essential step in finding solutions. But however, not everyone is on board. Several political parties, including the EFFDA, Action SA, have opted to withdraw, citing concerns that this dialogue lacks direction for citizens' participation and transparency. And some organizations, like that of former President Thabo Mbeki, have also pulled out, citing funding issues and also the need for more inclusive platform. But despite these challenges, the ANC and other willing partners are committed to proceedings, and today the President Cyril Ramaphosa has emphasized on the importance of the dialogue in uniting the nation.
We gather here today in all our diversity to launch a national dialogue. We are embarking on a process that will launch 1 million conversations amongst our people. Now, this is a great honor, to be able to instigate conversations amongst our people.
So this dialogue is an opportunity for all South Africans to come together, share their views, and work towards a common goal for the future. Listening and learning to build stronger democracy. Other participants also shared their perspectives. Some see this as a vital step forward, while others remain skeptical about its inclusiveness.
It might be late, but it has been long overdue for the people of this country to start to have an honest talk, not only conversations, but true conversations, to have a truth, power, justice, and people must be open. And I think the main issue is to guard it against state control. I don't think the government must try to steal this back and run with it.
As the dialogue continues until Saturday, opinions remains divided. It's a complex moment for South Africa, one that is also filled with hope, challenges, and the ongoing debate about the way forward for South Africans. That's the latest from here. For now, it's back to you in the studio as we continue to cover this historic event.
Thank you, Bongani Ziziba. Now, the death toll from contaminated fentanyl in Argentina has risen to over 100, with the government blaming a local pharmaceutical lab, HLB Pharma Group, for producing the tainted batch. The fentanyl used in hospitals across 4 provinces and Buenos Aires was found to be bacteria infected. Argentina's drug regulator, ANMAT, had shut down the lab 3 months before the first deaths occurred. Victims' relatives have protested, demanding justice. The incident has sparked political tension ahead of provincial and national legislative elections, with accusations of cover-ups and political connections to the lab owner. Investigations continue, and experts warn the toll may increase as more hospital records are reviewed and unreported cases are confirmed. Now, a very interesting turn of event. A Canadian federal court did something that no one saw coming. It called Nigeria's 2 biggest political parties, the APC and the PDP, terrorist organizations. Not in a tweet, not in a protest, but in a court ruling. Now, this decision came while denying asylum to a Nigerian politician, Douglas Egareva. Canada's reasoning: both parties have a history of systemic political violence, from voter intimidation and ballot snatching to outright killings. I know that sounds all too familiar. And under Canadian law, membership alone makes you inadmissible. No need to prove you personally did anything wrong. Party card in hand, and you're out. And this has once again raised the question of the nation's integrity, as yet again, the actions of these political parties seem to be dragging the name of our dearly beloved country, Nigeria, in the mud. The court's examples go back to the PDP's time in power, especially 2003-2004 elections, if you remember. But election violence isn't a one-party hobby. It's been a bipartisan sport for decades, and every incident is another crack in Nigeria's global reputation. And you'll ask, how much longer? Oh, but these parties have fired back, as the PDP calls Canada's ruling biased and misinformed. Strategists called it a political earthquake, one that could mess with Nigeria's visas, Nigeria's travel, and even international credibility. Because if Canada can call your mainstream political parties terrorists, what stops others from following suit? This is all too scary, because it's only a matter of time, because before the world stops separating the politicians from the passport. And right now, Nigeria's political class has put the whole country in a dock again. And remember that when 2 elephants fight, the grass definitely suffers.